Morning everybody, it's Chad from Stick's Blog. I'm Stick. This morning I just want to do a little video and talk about these two stoves here. Just so you know, this is the 1210 alcohol stove from Trail Designs, and this is a modified Starlight stove from Zelf. The reason I'm doing this video is because I was recently talking with Mech Outdoors, a fellow YouTuber, about these different cook kits and stoves in general, and he asked me if I could just do a video and kind of compare the two. So that's what this video is going to be. Now I want to say first off from the get-go, I'm not trying to prove that one stove is necessarily better than the other stove. In my opinion, both are excellent stoves. They both get the job done as they were designed to. There's just a few things about each stove that kind of sets the other apart. A few things about the, as far as weight's concerned, the Trail Design 1210 stove does have it beat. This is 0.5 ounces, whereas this is 0.6 ounces, which does include a cover. One cool thing that I do like about the Starlight stove is that it has this little lid on it. And the cool thing about that is it works in conjunction with some material that's inside the stove here. And it actually absorbs fuel. So if I were to just drop that and it had fuel in it, it wouldn't spill. But the cool thing about it is once I add my fuel and my water comes to a boil, I can actually blow this out and then put my lid back on once it cools off, and then I can transport the remaining fuel like that instead of having to let it boil out or burn out or anything like that. Now there are ways to recover fuel from stoves like this. I'm not saying that you can't. I'm just saying that it's much more convenient with this stove. And the cool thing about that is once I get to camp the next time and I go to use my cook kit, chances are I'm not going to need quite as much fuel because there will be some left over in here. Now I'm also not saying to just go and load this thing up with an ounce or two of fuel. I can't remember how much fuel this will hold, but I'm not saying load it up and go from there because personally I wouldn't trust it. However, with just a little bit of fuel soaked up in there, typically if I pour an ounce of fuel in there, I use it to boil 2 cups of water. I've probably got anywhere between half an ounce to a quarter of an ounce left, somewhere around there. And I feel perfectly safe transporting it like that. But anyway, so what I'm going to do here, just to keep things nice and round, just so you know, this is the 1.3 liter Evernew. It's the ECA 253 cook pot. It's the unlined titanium cook pot. And this is, of course, the Sidewinder Caldera Cone that matches it. I've got 2 cups of water here, 16 ounces of water, and then I've just got some denatured alcohol. To keep things rounded off, I'm using 2 cups of water, and I'm just going to use 1 ounce of denatured alcohol in each stove to do the boil. However, I just want to say that I feel like both of these stoves will boil 2 cups of water easily with 1 ounce of fuel and have some left over. But just to kind of round things out, that's what I'm going to do. I do have a timer here on my phone so I can time things. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and figure out exactly or pretty close to when it actually comes to a full hard rolling boil. And then how much longer will it burn on that 1 ounce of fuel. So I'm going to start with a 1210 stove just because it goes with this system. And whenever you're using the 1210 stove and your Caldera cones, it's recommended that you use the, I may not even put that in right. It's been so long since I've used it like that. Let me try it this way. There we go, that's better. It's been quite a while since I've used my 1210 stove. So using the 1210 stove, they recommend using stakes so that you'll lift the pot up just a little bit to get the correct height. So that's what I'm going to use. The cool thing about the Starlight stove is I don't do that. Since it burns a little less hot and slower, I'm okay putting the cook pot down directly in it like SBIT mode. Also, it might be hard to tell, but there is a little bit of difference in height between the 1210 stove and the Starlight stove. So, I'm going to take my 2 cups of water, add to my cook pot, and I'm going to measure out 1 ounce of fuel, or 30 milliliters. Like I said, this is denatured alcohol. It's Clean Strip. I got it at Walmart. It's not the brand that says SLX on it. It just says Clean Strip, denatured alcohol. Okay, that's 1 ounce of fuel. The cool thing about the 1210 stove, you just pour it right in the center, although you do the same thing with that stove there. So it makes it really easy to fill. Go ahead and center this. And I had some matches. And I'll actually start the timer once I get everything on there. So that's how easy it is to light that. And of course, with any alcohol stove, gotta watch out because you can't see it. It is lit. I'm gonna go ahead and put that over it. Set my cook pot over it and start the timer. Let's see here. Okay, guys, it's been a little over 6 minutes, and I hear it in there. Not quite a rolling boil, but there is some tiny bubbles coming up. It'll probably be boiling the next, well, it might be now. 6 minutes, 45 seconds. Show you what it looks like. It's not a super hard rolling boil, but it's pretty close. And then you can see the timer over there. So now then we're going to wait and see how long this thing boils for. It just stopped boiling. You can see the timer up there. It's about 11 minutes 30 seconds. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing using the Starlight Stove. So first thing, pull the lid off. I'm going to measure out 1 ounce of fuel, 30 milliliters. Like I said, it's the same denatured alcohol that I just used with the 1210 stove. Filling it is very simple. Just pour it right in the middle. And it soaks it right up. I do want to say that Tony Hobbs, another fellow YouTuber, in a recent video, he mentioned that he had some issues getting this thing lit. And part of the reason being, he talked to Zelf, part of the reason being is because the material in there soaks up all the fuel. So one thing that he suggested doing was right before you get ready to light it, was to flip it over and let some of that fuel absorb into the material that's towards the top of the stove. Also, he was in some quite windy situations, so that may have been part of it. I've got my water here, 16 ounces, 2 cups. Go ahead and fill that up. And the nice thing about the Starlight Stove, like I said, is you don't have to use the stakes. So I can take those out. Also, there is a regular version of the Starlight Stove that doesn't have the little ring in there. You can get that if you choose to. So, go ahead and light this thing. And it's lit. Set that right down in there. And we hit start. Okay, guys, you can see 9 minutes and 45 seconds. And it is starting to come to a boil. But it looks like it's doing well. Yeah, well, you can see there. That's a good rolling boil. It is 10 minutes and 40 seconds now on my timer. So we'll just call it an even 10 minutes on a boil time. Not exactly sure when it went over. And then now we'll just see how long it actually boils for. Okay, guys, as you can see, it just rolled over to 15 minutes. Still got a boil going. Like I said, because of the Starlight Stove, it's got a slower, or it's got a smaller flame. The boil is going to be a little less intense than it was with the 1210 stove. Of course, too, this is without the lid on it. If I was to put the lid on it for a little bit, we'll check that out and then take it off and see how it goes. We'll check it again. But as you see there, it's been 15 minutes and 30 seconds now, so we called it at 10 minutes, so that means for 5 minutes and 30 seconds it's been boiling still. This is more like a simmer, which would actually be good for food if you're just wanting to simmer and not have a hard rolling boil. But still, even with the 1210 alcohol stove, I think it would do okay. You see, it's a little bit more of a boil with the lid on. But anyway, so we're going on 16 minutes now. Okay, now it's a little over 17 minutes. You can see it's starting to come even less. It's barely boiling now, so the stove is actually dying out. It may do this for another minute or two, I'm not sure. But like I said, so far I've had still almost 8 minutes of fuel left after my boil. And really that's to the point now to where that's not going to be boiling, so we'll just call it 7.5 minutes, and that's still going. So it looked like both of them used just a little over half of them, about a little over 15 milliliters worth of fuel in order to come to a boil with 2 cups of water. The difference being that the Starlight Stove actually maintained a boil for about 2.5 minutes longer after the boil was achieved. So like I said, they're both good stoves. It just really depends on what you need. I will say too, using a smaller stove, like I said, this is the 1.3 liter. Using the smaller stove, those times are a little more exaggerated, like my 0.9 liter stove, just because it's a smaller interior space. So the boil time will be faster using both stoves. But like I said, either way, both stoves are great stoves. It really just depends on what you're after. Like for me, since I don't cook in a pot, once the water came to a boil, I would have simply blew the Starlight Stove out, let it cool off, and put the lid back on it, and felt comfortable transporting that fuel. And I would have had that fuel left over for maybe some coffee in the morning or something, or coffee after I got done, bringing my water to a boil for food. But anyway, I'll let you make your decisions on what you think about each stove. And guys, I appreciate you watching. I hope it helped out some, and I'll talk to you later.